hanging in there. I normally don't play my own music, but I specifically did it because I don't normally play my own music. And, you know, smiling at fear. So, you know, there it is. So anyways, hello, how are you? Happy grandest solstice to ya. And yeah, we're gonna get into lots of things. Symbolism of this time of the year, the winter solstice and Christmas and Yule. And there's a whole thing. I got a whole list over here of shit. I'm sure things will come up because of this. So, let's see if I can see this. Okay, we gotta cut the music. Sorry, music, gotta go. Because, yeah, it's getting all choppy. I'm not about to let's see if I can see it. It's getting all choppy. Alright, so there's you to the tube. But honestly, I only do these things as live streams, so it's more of a stream of consciousness for me. But also I can get to certain topics. I don't know. It's just only about being live versus me recording it. I don't know. It's a pure thing. You know, it's like the idea that freestyle is like the purest form of hip hop, right? You know, it's like, oh, you wrote it down. Oh, that's cool too. But freestyle. That's why when people can freestyle, amazing. It's like, yo, who the fuck are you, right? I guess the first thing we'll get into is the solstice, obviously. So let's just talk about the word solstice, right? So like sun, sol, right? And stis as in standing still, right? If you look up the definition, it's like sun stop. And with any of this, okay, here's the first tangent that I gotta write down that I was like, yo, I gotta bring this up. Okay, so any mythology, fairy tales, mythology, you know, fables, right? All these fantastical stories. You have to realize, because I've realized this, but so I'm telling you, you have to realize that, okay, these are moral stories, right? They're kind of like, oh, they're just kind of cute moral stories. They didn't actually happen, right? Regardless if they actually happened, right? We could debate that, but I'm not going to actually debate that. You know, there's many layers to these stories, and one of the most important layers for anybody is the layer of how it relates to your internal journey. Like the Bible is a metaphysical story about yourself, ultimately, or at least on a deep layer, right? It's many things, right? It's all these stories and things. You know, something I think about now is the Buddha is a map for your mind. Jesus is a map for your heart. Okay? And if you apply the archetypes of what those two archetypes represented, then you could turn your mind and heart around, right? Buddha was the mind scientist. Jesus was like the love heart scientist. Okay? So anyways, but the point of these mythologies and stories, one of them is to tell us something about an internal metaphysical process that we need to know about. Because to my understanding, here's how it went down. Okay, we got all this knowledge, we got all this wisdom, right? We know how to do cool shit, right? Doesn't matter who it was. People knew how to do cool shit. They had spells and rituals, and it was just kind of like an open thing, right? Then the Dark Ages come. You know, there's a rise and a fall, right? So then there's a backlash in terms of mystical, magical knowledge and all these things. And so the shamans, they gather around at their company picnic or whatever shamans do. I don't know, reunions. Do shamans have reunions? Say, hey, shaman class of 4. Oh yeah, I remember you at graduation in shaman class, you know, that 4th shaman class. But they had to keep this wisdom alive to the people, right? They knew it deep down, like what it was, what the fuck is going on here, how to manipulate reality, how to change reality, how to work with reality, ultimately how to align yourself with reality, right? But it's like, how do we keep these alive for people who aren't initiated? Because not everybody can just handle all this shit, right? So they're like, let's put it in stories, right? We could put this information into stories because not only, like, as one, there's a symbolic nature to every culture, right? Every culture has their certain symbols, and we can go down to sneaker culture, we go to Egyptian culture, we can go into the culture within your own family, right? There's certain symbols that mean certain things within your own family. So when you look at the symbols in the culture for the mythology, that was a way to put in the information about the metaphysical truths, I guess you could say, that this culture needs for their optimal whatever the fuck you want to say, right? So just all these sorts of stories. I don't care if it's Thor. I don't care if it's Shango and Oshun. I don't care if it's Hanuman. Yes, there's like, it's a cool story. Oh, it's a cool story about some sort of lesson. Oh, it's like, what's another layer of a mythology? It's just like, people write stories. It's just an activity people do, like, right? Oh, it doesn't mean anything, right? But there's many layers just that are external layers to something, like, Hanuman, coming through and helping homie, I forget homie's name, coming through, they kidnapped his wife, and Hanuman's like, yo, I got you, my nigga. He comes through, he helps them out, right? But that one, it's like, that's like a story about your chakras, right? About like, he goes over these mountains, he flies over these mountains. I'm looking at a picture of Hanuman flying over mountains. If I could show, I don't feel like showing you Instagram. I could turn you around much easier than I could turn this camera around. But, Instagram, I've been hard on you. I am going to turn the camera around. So you get to see Hanuman fly on the mountain. But YouTube, Facebook, you don't get to see it. Okay. So there's Hanuman. There is Hanuman flying over the mountains, right? Anyways, the point I'm making is that is in addition to many, many other layers, a metaphysical story that's just being told to us in a different way. And actually, this reminds me of, what book is that? Oh, this mythology book, where it was like this woman, right? And it's actually a very interesting book that I need to dedicate myself to this because I feel it'd be very transformative. It's called The Mythic Path by Feinstein and Krippner, right? Mythic Path. And so in the beginning, like, some woman who's writing like a foreword is talking about she was in this Indian village and they were watching it was Rama, I believe it was Rama. It was like on TV in this like little village, like they had one TV and television dramatization of the Ramayana, right? Which is the story of Prince Rama and Sita. Is that when Hanuman comes through? Is that when Hanuman? Yeah, because Hanuman, yeah. Yep. So when he's rescuing Sita, he's flying over the mountains, and and like this is like some sort of thing. Because thinking about like the prince, right, and the princess needs to be, what's the word? Not rediscovered. Rescued, right? You could say that's the story of human beings, right? It's like you need to ultimately rescue yourself through your own body, right? Through your own body, through your own heart, through your mind. You rescue your own princess, right? And the other one, Shiva and Shakti, it's like Shakti's got to get back to Shiva, right? That's you going up the spine, right? Shakti's in the base of the spine where your Kundalini is. Shiva's at the base of the skull. Shiva's like, yo, what's up? Shakti, yo, you coming through? And she's like, yeah, I just got to get, from the bottom of the spine. But, I'm coming, daddy. Yes, I'm saying Shakti, the deity, called Shiva daddy. So get used to it, everyone. I know I'm moving around a lot. I'm just excited. It's a solstice, you know what I'm saying? We're getting into it. We're getting into knowledge and wisdom and all these sorts of fun things. So, but anyways, so these are metaphysical stories, right? Before I get too far off base. These are metaphysical stories, the mythologies, these fairy tales, these, whatever the fuck, these just classic stories, right? Because like lots of times they go back to pagan origins, or they go back to another culture's origins, right? And they're kind of repackaged. Oh, that's the other thing I was going to say, is that so after this woman, this scientist woman in this random Indian village, right? After Ramayana on TV is like finished or whatever, and actually, so an interesting thing happened. Let me also explain this, which I thought was very fascinating, where she was talking about like, so they're watching it, right? And so essentially it's like, yeah, the prince, his princess is kidnapped, and through the help of Hanuman and his monkey cohort, he's able to save the princess, right? So during this, like the women in the village were like, that's dumb. Like, yo, she could save herself. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was like kind of like a revolt on like that she needs to be saved sort of thing, right? So when, you know, like, I guess the scientist, I don't know, was like, her curiosity was piqued at this point, like asked about it. She's like, no, like that's stupid. Like that's, yeah, okay. Yeah. Then it was like that. And I'm paraphrasing. It was not explained like this. I'm paraphrasing what's in there. I highly suggest that people get this book. It's very, very interesting. And I haven't done, it's a whole program they do for like 12 weeks, rewriting your own mythology. That's what I'm getting to. So, you know, it's very interesting. So, but they made a great point about like, why can't mythology be reinvented? Right. And even in the same way, it's a metaphysical story. Why can't this metaphysical story be reinvented, right? This could be a roadmap, a great roadmap for this metaphysical story, right? That we're a part of, that we can engage with. But why, once we're on the road, why couldn't we just determine where we want to go on this metaphysical map? So, yeah. So, okay. So these are mythological stories, right? So now let's come back to the symbolism of like the winter solstice. Okay. So, you know, it's the spring. Oh, everything's so green and beautiful and young, like a baby. Everything's so beautiful and young and oh my God, it's just, you know, there's so much life in there. It's just so new. It's like a baby was born in the spring, right? Because it's new, it's rejuvenating, new life. And then summer, oh, it gets older, it gets a little bit hotter, right? Ooh, maybe times get a little challenging, right? Gets a little bit more fast paced. Ooh. Then, you know, settle into middle age. And things slow down, maybe leaves are falling. Oh man, the leaves that fall, and they're falling, and they're falling, and they fall. And it's getting a little colder, a little bit slower outside and inside. A little bit slower. And then it gets very cold and brittle and extremely, extremely cold. And it's almost like death is here. Because death is here, folks. It's called winter. Winter is death. But y'all are afraid of death. And it shows. And honestly, here's an interesting thought. I feel like that's why most people don't like winter. I mean, it's very cold. I get it. But I think it's because it's a symbolic version of death that people don't want to reconcile with. Something to think about, folks. But yeah, winter is death in the solar cycle, right? Spring, you're born, right? Shit is back. Oh, bitch. Reborn, actually, you could say, right? Shit is back, you know, green. Oh, wow. Oh, we got all the shit. We got greenery. We got rejuvenation. We got seedlings. Seedlings. You know how many seedlings we got? That's the birth. Then summer is, I don't know, you're in your 20s or some shit. Then fall is, I don't know, 60s. And then, you know, winter is like, you know, you're like 70, you're 80. Oh, I'm not a fast season anymore. Oh, I don't know if I can make it to February. I don't make fun of anybody who is old and like that. But this is the symbolism of the year. So when we get into winter and the solstice, it's like, oh yeah, dead. It's you could say it's like the beginning of the death, or the middle of the death. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But yeah. So it's the death, right? And so this is where we can bring in a little whatchamacallit, traditional Chinese medicine, and we could talk about. Okay, so this is why I got to go to my tablet because I got to read some shit. And let's just call it traditional Chinese medicine. And okay, I just had to make sure because I always test the sound. I do like a test video where I record one, just make sure everything is good, right? Because I've done lives where it's just people are like, "Nope, can't hear you," and then like, oh, one time I did a live where I did this whole thing. It was fucking just, it's like I hit 2 home runs right in the game, right? And then just later, someone commented like, "Yeah, can you redo the audio?" And I listened to it. You can hear shit. I was like, "Oh, damn it!" No idea what happened, but so I always got to just check in, make sure the old sound is working, because even if the video's not working, the sound is working is the most important thing. So there you go. But let's talk about winter in the traditional Chinese medicine, because I think it's a good thing to bring up and understand the symbolism further. Okay, so when Chinese medicine was developed, this is from Mend Acupuncture, What Chinese Medicine Has to Say About Winter by Jamie Kaufman. When Chinese medicine was being developed thousands of years ago, people were living in a state of complete harmony with nature. They rose with the sun and ate what grew in each season. There was an acute... I'm doing a bit because it's like, okay, yeah. There was an acute awareness of the natural... No, I appreciate it, but yeah, get on with it. There was an acute awareness of the natural environment and its a direct effect on every aspect of life. This alignment helped people stay healthy throughout the year, giving them the tools to strengthen their immune systems and organs so they could ward off disease. Winter represents the yin aspect in Chinese medicine. Yin is the dark, cold, slow, inward. Oh, I got something on me. I got something on there. Well, I know I wouldn't say anything. I'm not looking at any comments, so no, even if someone did say something, I wouldn't have known. So I'm just being silly. Okay, so winter represents the most yin the most yin aspect in Chinese medicine. Yin is the dark, cold, slow inward energy. First of all, let's full pause for a second. And here's an issue that happens. People immediately have negative associations with dark, cold, slow, and inward. Maybe not inward. I don't know if people would be like, I have a problem with inward energy, but slow, cold, and dark, and this is where you got to understand the symbolism and the attachments to certain symbols in your mind, right? You got to really understand that, because then, if you have a certain thing about like, I don't want dark, cold, slow, inward energy, right? And it's like, well, do you want to, what? Yes, you can't have, no, yeah, yeah, okay. You can't be outside without a coat in winter, essentially. If you live somewhere where, it gets cold in winter. But the point is that you can't betray the seasons and the cycles. The seasons and the cycles are what they are. So you either understand that, and these are seasons and cycles within yourself, first and foremost, and then, oh, wow, leaves are falling or snow is falling. Oh, or it's very hot out, or, oh, trees are blooming, right? These are inward and outward cycles that you're also seeing, right? And that you also feel, but we attribute them to external things, but these are just happening in us, just like it's happening out there, right? So like when the trees are changing, that's happening internally in us also, right? But we just kind of think like, oh, those silly trees losing their leaves, right? You lose leaves in the fall too. I don't know if that's true. I don't know how many leaves you've lost in the fall, but I hope you've lost many. I hope you're not holding on to your leaves. Okay, anyways, back to this. This is in contrast to the yang of summer, whose energy represents light, hot, quick, expansive qualities. The summer weather is warm, the days are longer, and people are out being active. In TCM, we believe that diet and activities in winter should be adapted to enriching yin and subduing yang. Winter in TCM is associated with the kidneys, which hold our body's most basic and fundamental energy. Oh. So wait a minute. So if we're not focusing inward during winter, could we potentially fuck up our whole situation with our kidneys? Maybe not fuck it up. I mean, if you're generally healthy otherwise. But yeah, usually like faster years when it comes around to winter, I really, from a TCM standpoint, really try to follow that, you know, like even so much so where it's like I won't really want to do things like, recently I'm doing these Qigong classes at the library, right? And I could have done it in January, but I was like, no, I want to do it in spring. Like when it's just more like for the cycle, that makes sense. Like, yeah, we could do indoor Qigong in winter, and it's important to do Qigong in winter, but to start it, I had to go like, spring. It just made more sense as much as I didn't want to delay further, right? Like I'm all for getting money sooner. I'm all for that. So yeah, following, just with winter and like, really focusing on my kidneys, right? Throughout winter, and strengthen them and making sure they're good, right? Because throughout the year, right, when I'm being more active in the spring and summer, right, and kind of it's come around to that, I may not have time, or not even that I may not have time. It may be the worst time to focus on my kidneys because it's like, this is liver season, folks. I actually don't know what summer is associated with, because usually like the other seasons, like I'm not as stringent on them in terms of TCM following, but like winter, because I've researched before and just strengthening my kidneys in general, because I know it's important just through Qigong and things like that. So I've just researched about like, winter is kidney time. Oh, okay, good to know. All right, got it. So yeah, winter and TCM associated with kidneys, which hold our body's most basic and fundamental energy. It is believed that by harmonizing oneself with the seasons, you can stay healthier and prevent disease. So winter is a good time to strengthen the kidneys. And yeah, there's a plug in Qigong and writing and inward practices, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, we don't need to get more into that. But the point is that this sort of symbolism is happening internally, right? It's all happening internally. And so when we come to something like the end of the year, right, which we're at, like it's kind of, I mean, it's weird because the end of the year really should be like like March, like realistically, or like April. Like when I'm doing the Qigong classes, I picked like mid-April because I was like, March, I don't know about March. March a little too, it's too cold still. Like it doesn't feel like, even though it's like we associate March with spring. Why is my computer being difficult? Okay, let's close this. Did that help? I don't know why my computer, there's nothing else running. Jeez Louise, computer. Anyone wants to gift me I'm gonna have to do that like the OnlyFans girls. Like, hey, this is Occult Nacho's wish list. So if there's any benefactors out there who could just like a fast-ass gaming laptop, a thin, fast gaming laptop that also can do music on, right? Anyone want to just gift me that? Be great. Because I don't know about this encoding errors that's going on, saying it's overloaded. Lies. You're not overloaded. You need to meditate more. That's what you need to do, computer. Meditate more. Okay. So, these are metaphysical stories, right? All of this is metaphysical stories. Jeez. And even even in the Egyptian, like Set is associated with this season, which also Capricorn, goat, which is wisdom, right? You gotta stack all these symbols and kind of cross compare them, especially something like a solstice, right? Because there's a lot of things go on. Christmas, right? We got this. We got Yule. Right? We're like, you know what I'm saying? We got all these different, things going on, right? Solstice, Yule, beginning of the new year, death, resurrection, right? In the Jesus story. You could say that's your consciousness. That's your consciousness, or whatever you want it to be. But that's one way you can look at that, is that your consciousness is Jesus, and it's resurrected later in the year. And so, if you wanted to do, okay, let's talk about a ritual. This video actually would be a lot shorter than I thought it would be. Yeah, I'm getting out here in an hour. That's like a classic Brother Panic. Shout out to Brother Panic. That's a classic Brother Panic line, like, I'm going to finish this like in 2 hours, and then 8 hours later, he's still there, right? And thank goodness that, like, I'm new in the occult thing. So it's like, if I'm talking about a topic, I'll see him after a while. It's like I just started going to the gym. I can't be in there all day, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'll get tired too quickly. But I'm sure over the years, like him, acquire more knowledge, more insights, more wisdom. You make more connections. You have more interesting things related to the connections that you can bring into the connections. And it's like, yeah, you could just talk for hours about all of that. And have more and more to say, right? Because it's all interconnected. So once it's all interconnected, then it's like you have unlimited things to talk about the things that are interconnected. So, it becomes essentially when it's like, all right, I've said enough. We don't need to, we've said enough for this moment. We went there, we got the t-shirt. Yeah, we were there. But this sort of thing, I'm not gonna stress too long about this. An hour, yeah, because I've gone into the main things I want to get to. We talked about mythology, bam. We talked about TCM, bam. We talked about symbolism, bam. And if you want to go down the rabbit hole of Christmas and the fucking claustrum and Santa Claus, check out Illuminati Congo on Instagram. He has great breakdowns of those things. But yeah, these are all internal things. These are all things that some clever person was like, ooh, let's keep this around in this way, right? I mean, it could be the shaman thing, like we were talking about. But also it could be other things. It could be more nefarious, or it could be all the things, which it probably most likely is. All the things, right? Nefarious, shamans, aliens, nefarious aliens, Rastafarian aliens. That's my band name now. The Rastafarian aliens. Rastafarian aliens. They'd be like electronic, housey. No, let's take the house out. I don't know how that would work. But like electronic-y ambient, but also reggae. Yeah. Someone run with that. If someone runs with that and then come back to me when they have a whole thing together, I'll manage you. I'll manage the Rastafarian aliens. It'll be fun. We'd go, we hit EDM festivals, people mind blow there. Then go to reggae festivals, blow their minds. And then you know what? You go back to the EDM festivals and blow their mind again. Yeah. Okay. So this is all a metaphysical story. It's all a metaphysical story, not in its entirety, but one, I would say, important piece that the average or not so average, or however you think of yourself, I don't know, spiritual seeker. If you feel you're an initiate or a spiritual seeker, if you claim that title, you're wrong. Stop claiming titles. No, it's fine. If you're a spiritual seeker, initiate, I feel like this is important information. That all those stories, the Bible, all those mythologies, fucking Thor and Anubis and Johnny the deity. Oh, I love Johnny's mythology. they're all metaphysical stories. And probably all those Hollywoods. I mean, those Hollywoods are also like, I don't want to say they're metaphysical stories, but you know, they're layered with occult shit in them, right? Certain symbols, right? Because there's certain symbols in our mind that, especially if you're from a certain culture, it's like, oh shit, right? Like here, like what's a good symbol in black culture that it's like, oh shit, you see that, you know what time it is. I don't know, like a hot comb, like one of those hot combs. Like there's so many things that like that symbol can represent. It's like, oh shit. You know? So understanding the symbols of this time of year is very important, you know, in terms of death, right? And how that ties into rebirth. And you could even say kind of like the New Year's resolution thing is tied to that, right? Because it's like, yo, that old me, he's dead. I murdered him, right? Murdered. I murdered that old me. Yo, yeah. I saw that nigga. He was in the park. Oh, I ran up on. And now it's January 1st. And new me is here. Now that we got that other guy out of the way. Man, that guy, he was so annoying. He never wanted to exercise. But this one, who I've stolen his identity. this guy who stole his identity. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're here. We did it, folks. If I close this, will it stop doing the thing? I guess it probably will, right? Yeah, I don't know why it's so choppy. Do I have any drop frames? No. I don't know. I'm plugged into the thing. I don't know. This computer, I guess, is not as good as I thought it would be for live streaming. Because I could do videos on it pretty good. I could do music on it pretty good, which, you know, a lot of the computers where it was a struggle to do videos, definitely, and music sometimes. So, you know, this computer has handled those well. So I was like, oh, it'll be good with live streaming. But it's kind of has its moments where it's like, I don't know. I don't know if you should be doing live streaming on me, sir. What do you think this is? Okay, anyways. So understanding the symbols, right? The death during the winter, right? Dead. But it's your consciousness. It's not your physical body. It's your consciousness that is always dying and being reborn, hopefully. Right? This is where staying in the comfort zone fucks us all up because we don't let ourselves die. We don't let our consciousness die. We want to hold on to our old conscience. Hold on to the old ways. The old ways are the right ways. Hold on. The old ways are the right ways. That's so many people have that mindset, even if they don't realize it. Right? I was talking recently about moving with somebody. Like, right? And like, you know, how in the next few years I want to move out of Connecticut. Not for any reason other than the fact that it's like, I want to uproot myself, go through that whole process and go somewhere else and start over. Like just for the fundamental, just me having to deal with that, right? And the whole thing. And first of all, like, oh, I did it. So now I know I can do it again anywhere I choose, right? It's like not that big of a deal. Okay, you know, because I'm a minimalist anyway. I'm getting rid of shit in my life like all the time. I'm trying to get my smaller and smaller footprints of what I need to, you know, do what I want to do. Minimal things, maximum experience and adventures. That's my philosophy that I just made up right now. I'm writing that down. Minimal things, maximal adventures. Minimal things and maximum adventures. It sounds like it would be like, I don't know, not a band. Maximum adventures. I don't know. Some sort of, I don't know. You it's like you donate things to them and then they give you a vacation. That'd be cool. Someone get on that. I don't know how that business model would work, but you know, you tech bros over there, Silicon Valley, y'all ain't doing nothing. I'm sure you're doing problematic things. Like, I don't know, molesting interns. I'm sure interns in Silicon Valley, man, they got some horror stories. You know they have some horror stories. A Silicon Valley intern. Like, is this woman I met once Like she worked for like this tech company. It wasn't even Silicon Valley. It was just around here. She was telling me about how it was like so white and so like, oh man. I was just thinking about like, oh yeah, like a white run like tech company with just like, oh man, like I didn't think about how toxic and problematic that could be. Because normally I think of like a banking thing, right? A banking, like a problematic, or a law firm, right? Think about those, right? Problematic white man environments. But I never thought about like tech. Because like tech is like cutting edge, right? And it's like, so you think like cutting edge thoughts on other things. But no, you could be like cutting edge for software, but also be like, women, get back to the kitchen. You know, so I was like, oh, okay. I was like, oh. So yeah, so I just imagine, and also like maybe, you know, tech bros think they're like kind of like, well, we're not bankers, we're tech bros, so we can, it's like more acceptable to be problematic. I'm just speculating here. And you know what they say in Lojong? Don't ponder other people, but it's fun. That's why we do it. That is why we do it. It is fun. It's easy to do, and it's better than pondering yourself. You know, and it's usually an excuse to not ponder yourself, because you can't ponder other people and ponder yourself at the same time. It's kind of impossible. I don't even know what that would look like, but yeah, it's very difficult to do. So, you know, we always think about other people and judge them and all that sort of fun stuff, because, you know, it makes us feel better. It's like, oh yeah, fucking Stacy, she sucked 3 dicks yesterday. Oh, that's slut. Oh my God. And either it makes us feel better about our own slutty behavior, quote unquote, or it just makes us feel better in general. And you know, it helps us not look at our other slutty behaviors we have, even if it's not sexual, or slutty cupcake behaviors, you know, whatever, our babysitters in other ways. So yeah, understanding this death and rebirth cycle related to these seasons, right? Like that's why I've like, it's spring. That should be the time when it's like, yeah, like you're starting new things. Like if you can align it with the spring, that's good. That's a good alignment, right? A relationship. That'd be great to start in the spring, right? You know, but I mean, it's not necessary, right? Because again, this is all an internal story. This is all an internal process. So it really, you could make a point that really actually even doesn't even matter, right? That you align it where it's like, I'm doing these things during winter, right? Like, oh, I'm focusing on kidney. I think it's helpful if you do. But I think ultimately it's understanding that there's cycles throughout the year that are also external, but also internal, that are going on, going down in your own mind and heart and body, right? And awareness and blah, 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 blah. So what else is on my fucking thing? So yeah, Set, right? In the Egyptian, Set is related to the Capricorn season, right? And even I saw an image about like, okay, so Yule, that's from Norse, right? That's a Norse tradition. I don't know if you like getting a book and talking about Yule. How Yule doing? That's my joke. How Yule doing today? Hey, how y'all doing today? Hey Yule, how y'all doing today? You know, Father Christmas, right? He's like riding a goat, right? Representing the Capricorn season, and representing also, because it's like the Capricorn also is connected to like the devil, right? Which is the darkness, right? But again, this is not evil, folks. It's not, morality is bullshit. Morality is a human thing. Let me just say that. Let's get that out of the way. Morality is bullshit. Morality is human shit. If you're on a spiritual occult path, you need to be looking sideways at morality, probably not even looking at morality. Forget morality, because all you need to know is this. Let's break it down. Good and bad are all relative. All relative. You could say bombing people is bad, but for people who make bombs, bombing people is good, because then they get to make more bombs and they get to sell more bombs and more bombs are dropped. And that sounds heartbreaking, which it is. But again, good and bad are relative, right? It's all relative. So to have a stance about like, this is good, this is bad. Like, you could say, like, hey, I don't want to get spanked, but some people are like, oh, their greatest days are days where they've been spanked. So you know what I'm talking about, you know? And so it's all, like, you determine in your consciousness what is good for you or bad for you, right? But it's like, if I were to use a term, it's like alignments, unalignments, right? Me doing this video, alignments. Me sitting and eating a whole box of Oreos, unalignments, you know? And life is as simple as that, folks. It's as simple as that. And it's nothing about Oreos, but if I'm sitting eating a box of them, I would say that's unalignment for me. Maybe for someone else, that's their alignment. I don't know. It's like going back to what I was saying in the other videos about, you know, one person's skydiving as another person's cutting butter and vice versa. Because painting for me, since I haven't done much painting in my life, and I'm kind of like I'm starting to realize I'm actually a very type A personality who just over the years has coped with that, with using cannabis, right, to like take the edge off of that type A-ness, right? Like I've totally realized this. But also like at the same time sort of like a type A slacker, you know, but it's like when I'm like super like, you know, it's like I want everything lined up perfectly. It's like, it's ridiculous. And I'm like, oh, it's exhausting. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is I don't remember my point now. Type A personality and lining shit up. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. But I probably had to do something with solstice and the seasons and set and wisdom, the darkness and symbols. I don't remember. Damn, it was something good. I was winding up. You take one of those wind ups, you're like, oh, yeah, you see, like the picture just throws a hanger. You're like, oh, baby, this one's going out. You wind up. But then sometimes you whiff at the wind up because you wind up too much. You over wind up, and then you just whiff, even though it was a hanging fastball. It happens sometimes. You got to get over the disgrace of missing. You know? So, Death and rebirth, internal story. Yeah, I really wish I knew where I was going with that. Anyways, so in understanding these cycles, I'll just get back to that. So understanding these cycles of death and rebirth, like that they're internal, right? So we need to process them as such, right? That's why, you know, when I was reading, I was talking about writing during this time, inner reflection, right? So get to this now. So make yourself a mini Yule altar, solstice altar, New Year altar, just death altar, Christmas death altar, death to Christmas altar, Yule death, Christmas solstice, rebirth, reborn, New Year, new day, new week, new haircut, altar, whatever you want to fucking call it, okay? Doesn't really matter the name, but just something that can represent your death and rebirth. So what I'm going to do is, here's what I'm going to do. Okay, I'll tell you what's in here, right? And there's like, you just look up Yule altar, look up solstice altar. It doesn't, folks, the beautiful thing about magic is you can totally make it up. It's like literally whatever you want to make it up. You can go for traditional things, sure. You can go for new agey things. Sure, that's great too. I mean, I'm not really into new age, but whatever. Or you could take elements from those and then make this. Or you could just completely make it up. You know what winter represents to me? It represents fucking, I don't even know. I was going to say gingerbread cookies, but that was like too on the nose. I was going to go something weirder. But gingerbread cookies, right? You could fucking put a whole bunch of gingerbread cookies in here. Real ones, fake ones, you know what I'm saying? And that's it. And then, you know, maybe the other thing I'm going to put in here, but I'll also share. Okay, so traditionally, pine cones are a traditional thing, right? Because, I mean, pineal glands, and also just kind of like pine trees. They're just always out here. Just out here, just like evergreen, and then like, yo, we here, right? So pine cones, like for the Yule. And also, you know, put some cinnamon sticks in there, right? For abundance, for like, you know, sweetness, right? I threw a bay leaf in there too, just to spice it up a notch. I put this like this little pine needle in there too that I had. I put this this gem in here. I'm not sure what this is. I know this is tiger's eye and another bay leaf, right? So the other thing I'm going to put in there is I'm going to write down what in me is dying or is dead or will be dead beginning in the new year, and then also what is being reborn, right? So I'm going to put those in there, right? I'm going to leave this here. It's going to marinate, right? Like, you know, I just think about like things like this. It's like a slow cooker. I'm just letting it like spiritually occult energy slow cook for, I don't know, I'll probably leave it until the new year, and then I'll take out what I wrote and I'll burn that, and you know, that'll be it. And I'll probably put these items in some sort of dish or something on my altar, you know. But so yeah, make something like that. Make a little ritual where it's like you can review on an internal level what is dying in you, or what needs to die, or what that you want to die, right? And this is a good plug for dealing with your fear of death, right? Because it's probably one of the number one things that fucks people up. So yeah, so always good plug for that, because then doing these sorts of things where you're thinking about dying and my death and sort of things, like you're talking about metaphysically, you're not gonna like, you know, you can handle it because it's like this is all metaphysical, right? Even if you don't believe, you know, even if you don't believe there's life after death or whatever, you know, you can handle this sort of thing. So hold on, I gotta plug in my computer because the computer is like, hey, I need to be plugged in. No, we appreciate you, computer. Hold on, folks. There's plugging in computers over here. All right, where was I? I wanted to say something really just random and sexual, but I'm dealing with my lower self, and we always need to bring it down, right, folks? Right. So what else do I have to get to? It's all about always about getting to lists. I mean, I did all this. Okay. I don't need to talk for forever. Okay. So the too long didn't read for this video is Solstice, Christmas, Yule, whatever you want to call it. Internal metaphysical story in addition to many, many layers. This internal metaphysical story is about death and rebirth, right? That's going inside of you. So it's always helpful to tap into this energy to to uncover further layers of oneself. So that's it. We're getting out of here. Minimal things, maximum adventures. That's my new tour group. I don't know what we do, but we have minimal things and we go on maximal adventures. All right, peace out, y'all.